plenty of seats for the rest.
There's an empty row over here. You need to have space for your, no, for your work. If you don't need a page. Oh,
It's your democratic process. Done with that.
Okay, consent agenda. (129) to 160 to 169.
I'd like to pull resolutions 161, 166, 168 for further discussion. 161, the shared services? Yeah, the shared services, the Holmdel High School lighting, and I think there are bills on there too. So we'll have further discussion on that.
Okay. So a motion excluding them?
Yeah, I'll second the motion then.
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci? Yes. Mayor Hines?
Yes. All right, so you want to discuss these one at a time, Mike?
Sure. I just have a couple of questions. Like, when was we've promised our HYA and rec teams a lot of recreational improvements the last year. And I think the lights at the high school is a great idea. But we had no knowledge of this. And I know there's been a lot of
You had no knowledge of what?
the lights that we're doing lights at the high school. When did we discuss that?
I think it's been discussed 100 times.
When?
I can tell you that there's guys in the back of the room that have come to about 50 meetings and brought it up. We brought it up during the bonding, we brought it up multiple times, so what we were gonna do for the softball girls, multiple times.
I'm not arguing, but we never discussed, what about the shared services? What is that, how does that help our rec teams? I know it's at the high school, but how does it help the rec teams?
Because that's what the agreement is. It basically.
What's the agreement?
Read it.
Okay.
So the shared services agreement, Mike, for your knowledge.
It's the same shared service agreement that we have that allows us to use the turf now. It's the same exact shared agreement. We use the turf, all our rec kids use the turf. So we are paying for the lights that will give them the ability to play at night. They have a brand new softball field. It's a standard shared service agreement that we have with the high school.
Okay, well, I'd like to table it until we get a fully understanding it. I'd like to table it to the next meeting.
Keep delaying.
I'm not delaying.
Yeah, you are delaying.
I'd like to make, well, okay, I'd like to make a motion. I want a full accounting of all the money that's been spent on recreation. What's the problem?
No problem.
Good,
Keep
so let's,
delaying. Keep delaying.
I would like to make the motion that.
Does anyone second it? You made a motion. You made a motion.
No,
Did
I
anyone
did
second
not.
it?
So I think that there's an effort of transparency that's trying to go on. So I get Deputy Mayor's point that the first time I'm seeing that we're moving forward with this, because I think there were multiple options we're looking at to work with. And my view has been all along, we talked about when at least 3 of us were up here, that we wanted to do something with the pilot money for the schools. I think it's a good thing, right? And we talked about, because the pilot money, for those of you that aren't aware, 95% of the money from the pilot goes to the town, and 5% goes to county, and nothing goes to school. And if this is what the Board of Ed wants from us, I would like the Board of Ed to come to the meeting and request it at a township committee meeting.
So just for the benefit of everyone, we've had multiple conversations with the entire Board of Ed. And again, I've talked to Vicki Flynn and Tom Patelli. Have you talked to Vicki Flynn and Tom Patelli as past mayor?
I haven't had any conversation.
Let me try to jump in here and lower the temperature on this for just a moment, and you guys can go at it what you like. The lighted fields at the high school is something that HYAA asked us to do so that their program would have a new field that they could have the girls practice on at night. So one of the things that we did all last year was work closely with HYAA on what improvements they wanted to make to all the facilities throughout town. I know you were in plenty of those conversations, so you're familiar with that whole topic. We approved $2 million, $2.5 million to make improvements to Phillips Park, to the high school, the village, you remember all that.
I do.
And one of the
The number one priority for
number one
softball.
priority for the softball program was to light the new high school field. And if anybody
I'm not
in the back is familiar with
right,
it,
I'm
you
not
can
questioning if they need
So,
lights.
so you're picking on a shared services agreement. We can't making improvements to a high school facility without negotiating an agreement between the Board of Ed and Holmdel Township. That's what's done. I'm sure Dr. Pascucci has plenty of experience with that when he was in his prior life, right?
Well, I'm gonna get into that.
Okay, so you're asking us to table something.
Until I see I want to see the bills, how much money was allocated, how much has been paid, how much have we given our engineers? I want to see bills from T&M, Mazer, and what DPW has spent so far in recreation.
We spend
Because
nothing. Mike, we spend nothing.
Good, we've spent nothing.
No, with this project, we
Nothing?
spend nothing on softball with T&M.
No, I want to know for recreation, but what have we spent, of the $2.5 million, of all the millions we've promised HYAA, we've promised them, of the world, millions of dollars in improvements. I want to see what are we getting, what's the schedule like for making these improvements? How are we spending that money? I think we should have that discussion in public. The people want to hear it.
We did.
No, when, the schedule?
Yeah.
When? No, between this and this, also this shouldn't be on the consent agenda, between this being on the consent agenda, then burying the turf field at the swim club on the consent agenda, which I asked Donna about the day before that, or 2 days before that meeting. She lied to me, she didn't tell me anything about it. No, I want to
Talk
know.
about personnel. We're talking simply about softball and the lights. We've gone back and forth with this a number of times, including the Board of Ed. We needed to solidify our user agreement with the Board of Ed. Multiple times this has been discussed, and all we're doing is what we've agreed to do. Part of that bond money was to be used for the lights. That's all that's happening right now. If you're against that, Mike,
No, I'm not.
then,
I
well
want to
then,
see
Mike,
what-
either you're for it or you're against it.
No.
Right now, you have an
I'm-
opportunity to go out to the softball community and say, yes, that we can do this.
I'd like to make the motion, I'd like to see what bills, what have we been.
What does that have to do with the softball lights? What does it have to do with the softball lights?
I want to know what we've paid so far and what.
What does that have
I
to
wanna
do
see
with the
schedule.
softball lights? You're either for this or you're against this. We have the opportunity tonight to
I
do
want to
these
table
lights.
it until, I'm not against it. I want to
You
table
sound
it
like-
until the next meeting.
sound like you're against it.
No, let's table it to the next meeting. Let's get all the bills and then we'll vote on it.
Can I get to speak? I don't really want to table it right now. I got some questions I would like answered. Let's move forward. Tom, was this on our list? Remember we picked all the projects
Yes.
in the beginning that we were going to do? Was this one of the things on that list?
It was on the final list of improvements that we all reviewed in executive session in 2018, that we all unanimously voted to move forward on as part of the $2.5 million.
There were a lot of
Yes.
lists. There were numerous lists.
No, but I'm not trying to, there's always on. I'm
The
not
answer to
trying
your question is yes.
Remember we read in public, was this one of the lists that we published?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's my question for you. Number two. Again, I wasn't gonna do this, but, and I don't wanna have a pissing match. I don't like that it's on the consent agenda. I just don't think that's right. But the biggest question I have with it is not that we shouldn't do it, because I was on the other side with the Board of Ed, and they laughed at us when we signed the agreement for Rogie Field. I don't see a user agreement in here.
I don't either.
And I wanna protect our kids. No offense to the Board of Ed people out there. I don't trust them 100%. My job is to give our kids recreation, rec kids first. And I don't see a user
So-
agreement. That's my question.
So, Rocco, as somebody that is in constant use of the current Rogie Field, I mean constant, Jeff Reynes is in charge of that. It cannot possibly be any user. They are never saying no, and this is the same user agreement. The high school girls do not play night games. They're going to have full access, and this is, again, in a growing sport with a bunch of volunteers that have done an amazing job really developing young women at every level. This was their number one thing. We have the opportunity to do that. This is really simple. Either you want to do something right or you don't.
Eric,
I know you do, I know, I'm just a little frustrated because we have talked about this multiple times in public. There's nothing to be afraid of, Rocco.
Yes,
They've
they
never,
could say now, they could.
No, they
I don't
can't.
trust
Reyes
them.
could be gone
They
tomorrow.
could say,
There's a new guy in there.
guess
So you're
what,
not gonna say the
Holmdel,
same.
we're gonna use it every day, your girls softball team, whatever else we wanna do there. No, I think we should have a user agreement, whether we
we
attach
do
it
have
as
the
an
user, we
event.
do have a user agreement.
No, it doesn't say who
There's no teeth in it.
controls the fields.
There's no teeth. I read everything.
I would tell you this, that if you're unhappy with the user agreement, I would still say that we move forward in order to build the lights, and we can go back, and you guys can fight with the Board of Ed and get as much, as aggressive as you want. I'm sure the gentleman in the back room will be happy to work with you, but to not move forward, you're delaying this. We need to get the construction done over the summer. That field will not be used, as you know, because of all the construction to the fall, but if we don't get on the list, if you don't begin the construction, you're delaying this to the fall, to the winter. You would like to have this used by the spring, for the spring season of 2020.
Again, I have a motion, I'd like a full accounting of all the money that's been spent until we go to the lights.
I still, no offense, I don't trust anyone in this life. And I want to protect our kids, and I think somehow in this user agreement, it should say that we're going to have so much time of this field. There's got to be something in there. Right now, the Board of Ed, and no offense to the Board of Ed, I was on the other side. They laughed at the township. Laughed. How could the township sign this agreement? We got to protect our kids.
Rocco, just so you know, the Board of Ed has a very, it's again, whether it's for their indoor use or any of their usage, okay? We use the basketball gyms all year round. And a lot of times, if it's not basketball season, it's very, very easy. Today, the girls softball team, the season is over right now. They do not play in the fall. So in the fall, in the future, again, the recreational teams have fall leagues. They're going to use those lights. There is no way the school is going to deny that. There is nothing to fear here. I understand the intrepidation, I guess, but at the end of the day, the school is not going to deny our children, our HYA group, use of this field. They are not going to do that, guys. They are not going to do
They have
that.
in the past.
They have not done that in the past, unless there's a school event.
Put it in writing. Put it in writing.
Guys, you're,
We are on Germanario and high school field and...
Hey, with all due respect, don't get my head out of the ass. Talk at the mic, you don't get to scream from the audience, no offense.
Okay, well,
We're debating something here for our kids. We're not doing it for ourselves. I'm not running for election.
Rocco.
Don't give me that bold feces. If there's a motion, if there's no second, so it fails.
I'm going to make a motion that we pass this consent agenda item, get moving on the lights, and provide Mr. Nicholas with all the accounting that he would like until his eyes start to bleed. There hasn't been any money spent on recreation yet. We've passed a bond for $2.5 million. We haven't spent any
No,
money.
that's not correct.
That's not true.
On the bills payable, there's a line item in front of us for approval, I'll pull it up from the...
We haven't spent it yet, Greg.
T&M Associates, 5/10/19, engineering swim tennis club turf relocation, almost $10,000. That was just approved tonight,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So money is being spent, and I was not aware we were spending money at the tennis club for turf. And now I'm getting a bill for $10,000? So there is money being spent.
In the original thing, we were still had construction to do there and moved to tennis, so.
Part of the money that we allocated, that everybody approved, was improvements to the swim club. We're demolishing the old tennis courts, so.
That was done already.
So I'm making a motion that we go forward with the $400,000 for the lights. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Which resolution? Committeeman Capelli, just want to clarify, which resolution are you moving?
He's moving, I think it's 330. 297.
I'll amend that. It's the,
20 people there would like.
No, there's a bond performance, that's another, that's 210.
The shared services agreement is 161, the lighting is 166, Committeeman.
166.
Do you want to do them together? Or?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I don't want to put words in your mouth. The motion on 161 and 166? Is that what you're
Yes,
proposing?
that's the motion.
I second the motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Abstain.
Mr. Catali?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Can you read the motion back again?
It's a motion on resolutions 161 regarding the shared services agreement and 166 regarding Holmdel High School lighting.
I'll abstain. I want to see the money.
Dr. Pascucci? I think it's on.
I should have. I'm not going to abstain, but I want a user agreement. So unless it's in there or some kind of verbiage that it will have to be in there before we finalize this deal, I'm going to vote no.
So,
Very
Rob,
good.
so how is he voting then?
No.
You're voting no?
Yes.
I vote yes.
That motion fails on a 2-1-2 vote because 5 members are present. It requires 3 affirmative votes for passage.
There's 161 and 166, right, Michael?
Correct.
Thank you.
Does the community get a chance to ask questions?
No. What's next?
You still have bill payments committee. Resolutions 160 and 168 remain before you.
160.
I believe those were also pulled by Deputy Mayor Nicholas.
You're right, it was in regards to the bills from the engineering. Were there bills on engineering? If not, then just, we'll move it.
We're moving 161 and 168. Motion?
Well, motion.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Catali?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes.
Okay.
What's next?
So then we have hearing on ordinance 2019-05. It's an ordinance amending the 2019 salary ordinance. This ordinance was published in the Asbury Park Press, posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, and copies have been made available through the clerk's office and on the table in the rear of the room.
Public hearing. No comments?
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr.
I
Catali?
think we need a motion. Yeah, no problem. So the hearing closed. The motion on ordinance 2019-05.
Motion.
Sure, public.
I said public, Rob. I'm sorry. Didn't we say public?
Yes.
Said public.
Must have missed it.
Nobody came up.
Motion, do we have a second?
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Catali?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-05 is passed.
Okay, and in response to that, in light of our discussion with the committee in executive session, now that that ordinance has been adopted for the committee's consideration, each member has here on the dais a resolution appointing Jill Stone, CTC, as Holmdel Township Tax Collector. It will be for a term expiring on December 31st, 2019, with a retroactive effective date of April 17th, 2019. I'm sorry, did I have the date incorrect there? When? 24th, I apologize. So that's April 24th would be the effective date. Thank you much.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Catali?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes. Departments. Bill, Fran, you got anything? We'll go to engineer. We're going reverse tonight.
No, Mayor, no specific report.
Great, thanks. Legal?
No reports there.
Great, thanks, Bill. Yeah, pitch it.
If you don't want to hold it, I can, you want me to fix it?
Just underneath it, this little button.
We're doing fixing the budget?
Do you want to take care of the budget now, or? Yeah. Okay, all right, yeah. The first item we have for the budget tonight is a self-review. Every 2 out of 3 years, we can review the budget ourselves, not the state reviewing it. This year, under self-review, There was a resolution passed a couple meetings ago. I was not the CFO at that point in time, so I recommend to redo that resolution, saying that I did review the budget and that we meet all the state requirements, for the budget.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Catali?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes.
Resolution 2019-170 is passed.
I can make some comments before the public hearing. The 2019 Holmdel budget once again contains a 0% municipal tax increase. Some notable decreases this year. We had deferred charges of $341,400. We paid all that off over a period of about 5 years. They have been paid off. Our debt service has been reduced by $460,000 because of some permanent bonding issues have matured. There's some increases. The IT department's increased by 57%. Again, this is now a full-time department, and there's a lot of activity. There's been funding allocated to some additional staff in the police department, additional staff in construction, and also the salaries have increased according to the contractual obligations. Local tax rate will be about 34 cents per 100 of assessed value, which is pretty much the same as last year. A house which is assessed at the average assessment $675,957. Your municipal taxes will be approximately $2,298. Last year that was $2,309. So it's an approximate decrease of about $11 per year. Those are my brief comments.
Public hearing? Ralph?
Good evening, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I've looked at various budgets over many years. This budget, to me, is opaque and obtuse, however you want to put it. Part of it, I certainly understand that the format is that required by the state. Half the pages are blank and have no information on it. We shouldn't even be there, but that's the state. Beyond that, if I gave you a page of random numbers, what would you say? You said, what is it? That's sort of my reaction to this. There's a bunch of numbers, but to me what's missing is the text and the explanations. Far more of what the kind of thing that you just described needs to be provided to the public, in my opinion. I mean, just refer to 2 specific items and ask about them, and we'll see what kind of answers we get. Page 27, at least this is the page sideways from the township website, under general appropriations. Section 8, operations within caps, recreation and education. I'm not picking on Bob Ward, and just I'll tell you why I'm asking this in a moment. Parks and playgrounds. Salaries. It says appropriated for this year, 2018, was $202,000. Actual was $241,000. Budgeted for 2019, $212,000. Somebody getting fired? Is everybody taking the 20% cut in pay? Why? What? I can't tell. Page 26, Public Works, road repairs and maintenance. This year, $1,137,000, I'm not going to the extra numbers. 2019, $1,392,000, up by 20%. I hope that's not salary increases. Are we hiring more people? What are they doing? In general, what's causing, not necessarily every last item, but for major categories, why is it going up? Why is it going down? Are costs going up? Are we getting more services or less services? And I picked these 2 categories. Do you want to comment, or?
I can comment. I was not here for the development of the budget, but if you do have any questions, I can research it. I can go back and research it. This started in September of last year, and I was appointed about a month ago. So, I mean, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to stop by and we can look it up, find
It's
the
hard
information.
this is the hearing, this is our one shot, so without being able to get answers.
No, it's public information, you're welcome to stop
Yeah.
by anytime and ask.
Clearly, one of the things that's on many of your minds is supporting youth recreation. I'm not trying to start another argument here, but one of the comments that was made many, many times over the past year is that there's a problem with a bunch of the existing fields. They're in poor condition. They need to be better maintained. That better maintenance, I would think, would show up in the operating budget, which is what we're looking at, under either parks or under DPW, which does some of this work. Just putting up lights doesn't make a field work. It takes more than that.
No, but Ralph, I use Phillips for example. Phillips is going to be turf this year. That reduces maintenance use. So I'm not saying that solves your problem here. But, Phillips Park, which, if you were there on Saturday, it was packed with the kids playing basketball, both up and down playing baseball. It's a wonderful park, centrally located for Holmdel. But it's very difficult to maintain, especially baseball starting in March and so forth. So that's going to be an example where the maintenance fees will actually go down.
So I appreciate that, putting capital in making additional fields, new capabilities is good, but we want to be able to maintain it. And where's the maintenance plan? I don't see it in this budget.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Kathy?
Kathy Weber, 4 Duncan Drive. I'm just going to ask a question for clarification that I've asked before. With respect to the pilot revenue, what's the estimated pilot revenue what was the actual pilot revenue for this year? And what is the estimated pilot revenue for next year? And is that reflected in the budget?
It is reflected in the budget. I don't remember the numbers.
We received last year 621,000. This year we're anticipating a little bit over 1,015,000.
Okay. And our tax rate is remaining flat. It is not decreasing as a result of that pilot revenue, correct?
Not at the moment, no.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Joe? Just on the budget right now, Joe. So if it's general comments, you can wait. Anybody else on the budget? Nobody else from the public? Motion to approve the budget?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Critelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes. What's next one?
Excellent discussion.
Business from the committees? Malcolm? No? Greg?
I was going to yield my time to him.
No fire business tonight, because
what?
next time.
Greg?
No.
Mike?
End of June, Rutgers Water Resource Team will be doing a presentation for the Environmental Commission. We'll put some word out on that. And for all my EMS friends, happy EMS week. Thank you for all you do.
Tom Critelli?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, I have nothing. Public, is that public now, general? General, anyone from the public in general now? Joe Crowley?
Joe Crowley, 15 Ely Road. I'll make my comments. If you guys have anything to say to me, I'd ask you to wait, and just give me the time to finish what I have to say. I'm extraordinarily disappointed, extraordinarily disappointed. We have been working on this for at least 2 years, and lights for girls softball has been at the top of the list. Dr. Pascucci, with all due respect, and I think you know how I hold you in regard, and I respect your opinion based on your experiences. In all the time I have been doing HYA, which has been at least 12 years, we have never had a problem getting on a field. Our kids get on Rogie Field for football, soccer, boys lacrosse, boys and girls soccer, We use German Aerial Field, 3 different fields at Indian Hill, Village Field. I don't know, like, whatever, I can't even, and so we use gyms in the winter for baseball training, okay, let alone basketball, all winter long. To hold this up for the nebulous concerns, which I couldn't even figure out, some of, and the shared services, to me, is mind-boggling. We finally, as a community, got something which we could largely agree on, which was an extraordinary accomplishment and a credit to all your hard work, as well as the work of many people in the community. Look, whatever political infighting you guys have going on, whatever squabbles you have going on, you guys have all said that you wanted to put the kids first. It's time to put the garbage aside, okay? This stuff should have been worked out ahead of time before you came in this room tonight. This budget should have passed, okay? This item here, whatever it is, it's just incredibly disappointing to me. And to have questions, about where this item fit on an HYA list, it was number 1 on our list.
Number 1.
Okay? And in all honesty, when we talk to this, I'm a baseball guy, when we talk to the softball guys, this was the first thing we wanted, was lights for the girls. Okay? So there's no question of the priority on this from an HY perspective, none. And if we can't get a shared services agreement with the school revised to people's accommodations in 2 weeks or something, this thing could go on forever and derail the whole effort. And we've had enough delays. It's time for you guys to figure out how to move this forward.
Well, I'd like to make a motion for Mike and Rocco to lead that charge and come up with a user agreement that you're happy with. I'd like to make a motion.
May I speak on this?
Yeah,
motion?
sure.
The total, I agree with Mr. Crowley on one point. This should have all been worked out ahead of time. Until I came
Set
on.
agenda, it's nothing. We talked about this
Stop it.
forever.
Let's not fight. I have the floor. This should have been worked out ahead of time. I'm for this. This committee has been debating recreation for 20 years. Since I got on the committee, we approved the 2.5. And I want to spend the money on the kids, but I've been through this before. I don't trust anyone. We got a meeting coming up next week that we didn't cancel yet. All I'm asking is we have a little meat in that user agreement to protect us and our kids, and we can approve it next week.
You just heard from an HY guy that's been doing it for 12 years,
Yeah,
that he's never had a problem.
And I've been
12
on the
years.
committee, and I know that's not true. I know we have problems getting some use. We have to have it
We've never
tied
had
down.
problems.
Eric, I'm not.
Well, then, again, I'm making a motion for you to meet with the Board of Ed and work it out by next week.
Oh, since now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. Since I am the Board of Ed liaison, I don't know anything about this. Is that appropriate? I try to avoid this political conflict. I just want to get lights. And I want to get lights that the kids can use. That's the bottom line.
If you
All I'm
want
asking
lights,
is
you
we
just
have a
want-
little meat in there. Come on, guys.
So
Stop
I'm
with
making
this
a
small
motion.
political-
So I'm making a motion for you to handle it. You to handle it.
No. I can't handle it. I can make a recommendation. Oh, laugh. Come on, Eric. Stop with the political smiling. You and
I'm
Mike are
smiling.
pissing me off. Sorry, there's a kid in the audience.
Listen.
This is no. I have the floor.
Because I
get
put the
to
kids
speak.
first.
Yeah, the kids do come first, not
With me they do.
politics.
With me they do.
And with me, they do too. My whole life has been kids, Eric, and they come first. I don't want to play this game, and the people in the audience in the back threatening me. Try it outside, dude. I'm sick of this BS. I'm here for the kids, and I just want to protect them. What's the big deal about putting a couple lines in there? It should have been in there ahead of time. And I don't want to tie up the lawyer's time here now and say, how can we do this? But I just want to protect the kids, Joe, so that they can use the field. That's it. I'm willing to go on this, but I want something that gives me meat to tell the Board of Ed. That's it. That's all I got to say.
So, Mike, can you work out a user agreement that would be
I would be
agreeable?
glad to take any direction from the committee. I would just note that anything in terms of the potential negotiation in the past or in the future, we would discuss in a closed session, but I am absolutely glad to take direction from the committee.
So here's the thing, myself and Tom Critelli both agreed to the standard user agreement that has been working and works great. Anyone who's involved in sports know this. So in order to get a third vote, I'm asking you to work with the Board of Ed, show that to all three of them in order for them to be satisfied, and hopefully we can do it by next week, and we'll come back and vote for that next week.
Certainly.
Right.
Is that the consensus of the committee? Everyone good with that?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Should I do roll call?
Sure.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Critelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes, and there is no standard agreement.
Mayor Hines?
Yes.
Thank you for that aspect of moving this forward. Dr. Pascucci, I want to just tell you that, as I said, I respect you. I also feel that I have a set of experiences which I need to share with.
Yes, and we appreciate it. We're
Okay.
all doing what's good for the kids, and people don't
That's
get that.
fine. But again, so we've got a week then, so let's make this happen, please. Thank you.
Okay? Good job, Joe.
Thanks, Jim.
Jay Yanello, 18 Ladwood Drive. Just following up on Mr. Crowley's comments, I'm not against these lights. I'm not even against the turf field at the swim club. I'm not against any of these recreation projects. However, I'm a little surprised at Mr. Crowley's demeanor and that from the people in the back of the room when the $2.5 million debt deal was raised and there was a whole laundry list of HYA projects, again, which I and many organizations were not against. I actually got a phone call from someone on HYA and I said, listen guys, we're not against these projects, but you better hope they're going to get done in that priority. And what happened, Mr. Crowley and everyone else? Out of nowhere, at a right field, when many committee members didn't even know about it, we had $2 million and so going to the turf field at the swim club. So I'm not getting involved in this political election. I'm not, Mr. Nicholas and I have had issues in the past, but I am all for an accounting. I am all for slowing this down and looking at this correctly, given that the $2.5 million originally earmarked to HYA somehow got sucked in to this project at the pool club for $2.5 million. By HYA, we may get to your projects after this thing at the pool club. And oh, by the way, it's on the consent agenda. Speaking of consent agenda, I think we all need to get together and say, at a $50,000 mark, whether it's been discussed or not, some level, 50, 75, 100,000, things need to be discussed in public. The final comment I have is, as pilot money comes in, and we're going to consider giving it to the school system, what about the resource officers? What about full-day kindergarten, all the expenses that are rising on those two issues? I mean, how much is going to go to recreation? What about the arts? I mean, I just think we have to have a more open discussion of where these resources are going.
Thank you, Jen. Ralph?
Good evening again, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. Brock, you indicated that you have the fire proposals at the next meeting. Does that mean next week, and there is a meeting next week? Because the township website had the cancellation notice still there for the 28th. So is there, first, the key question, is there going to be a meeting next week, Tuesday?
I'll jump in here, and I would suggest that we're going to have that meeting, assuming Mr. Collins can get enough language in a user agreement with the Board of Education that satisfies all of us up here. And if he can't do that, we'll cancel it on Monday. So right now, I don't think
Monday's a holiday time.
Okay.
So we're going to try to work quickly to work on this. We would have to cancel it by Friday. That's really the only reason I have a meeting. We've had a meeting every day, every week this month, so.
And school's closed Friday early, too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have this meeting, but I know we can do this by next week. It should, yes, I know we can. I mean,
I'm not arguing with you, but I've had to deal with negotiations with the Board of Ed, and sometimes it's just the bureaucracy of both the township and the Board of Ed.
right, but if we put it in our agreement, this is what we're giving to them.
They may have to meet and discuss it, right?
But we're going to give them what we
I
want,
would
correct?
think they would have to have a conversation amongst themselves before they agree to anything.
Right, but if we agree, we can say next week, this is what we're handing them.
But they still have to accept it.
They have to accept it, well.
It's no different than
Right, but
We're passing that today and then trying to negotiate it.
I think we can do it.
With a holiday, that's gonna be tough.
I think it's incredibly unlikely on the Board of Ed, but let's give it a shot tomorrow, and if it's not, we'll cancel by Thursday.
I'll keep the committee posted on the progress. I'll be on the
Thank
phone
you.
in the morning.
Thank you very much.
And Ralph, your fire question, I can't give you any more yet, maybe next week, but I can say this, the mayor and I, if we don't kill each other, are going out to look at sites tomorrow again, and we'll get back to you next week.
Okay. Otherwise, it'll be in June.
Yes.
Yes,
And
it's top priority.
lastly, I may have missed the point with regard to the recreation bond referendum. Prior to the public hearing on that referendum, it indicated you would post the list of what's in the referendum. It was not so posted. At the public hearing on that referendum, I asked for the list. And again, reference was made to a list that was discussed in executive session. To my knowledge, I have not seen in public the list of what's going to be covered by the referendum. I think together with knowing what's already been spent, it would be helpful for us to have the list to which
Tom,
apparently
can you lead that?
this.
Yeah, that's fair, Ralph, thank you. We'll get that.
And it should get posted so
Fair.
everybody could see it.
Yep, agreed.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Kathy Weber, 4 Duncan Drive. I just want to take the list thing to the next step, because the list, a vague list, was published in the township newsletter, which I happen to have. But what is missing for the benefit of HYA and members of the public is which of these projects are happening in what order, time frame, and at what approximate cost. So there's multiple projects here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's not a lot of detail about them. There's no cost, and there's no implementation plan. I think that is what would be very helpful for all concerned. So I would like to see that as soon as possible, if possible. And then I would also like to say, as Jay said, as a member of the community, I fully support the lights at the softball field and equity for our girls' sports in this town, because we have not had equity. So the other question I have is with respect to the land swap, which this township committee proposed and said was happening in November timeframe, and I'd like to know the status of that. Has the township filed the requisite reports with the DEP and Green Acres, and when will that land swap be implemented?
The target is to have that done this year.
This year meaning
2000
calendar year,
calendar
fiscal year?
2019.
2019, by the end of December.
Correct.
And where are we in the process right now?
The county of Monmouth has to propose something at one of their upcoming meetings, and speaking to Freeholder and Trevor Duda, they're going to try to get it on for June. So the ball's in their court in that respect. I don't know exactly what it is, Kathy, that I could speak, you know.
All right, because my understanding from the county is that they're waiting on us, and that we have to submit something to the DEP. So I'm a little concerned that this is happening.
Well, we're waiting for the county to take some action, and we're all working with the DEP. There's obviously restrictions on both pieces of land that have to be negotiated, and that's what we're flushing that out right now. And I believe Marty Flager is taking the lead on that.
Oh, I know Marty. He was my Board of Ed member. So again, it would be helpful to see a timeline of the steps in that process and the anticipated completion for the members of the public. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
Yes.
Debbie Brew, 15 Cindy Lane. I just want to say, I think it's incredibly sad tonight when the Board of Ed budget represents 70% of the taxes that we bring in. And I don't see one person at the Board of Ed meeting when they're passing their budget complaining about why we're spending all this more money, why they can't control their budget. We just passed a $40 million referendum. Nobody's there. Who is there? All the HYA guys, wondering when this is going to happen with the lights at the high school. And they go to that meeting, they come to this meeting, they go to that meeting, they come to this meeting. It's ridiculous. It's all political grandstanding. You know it is. And it's a shame that it is all at the expense of our children. It's sad.
Ron Emma, 32 Ladwood Drive. Dr. Bascucci, are you at liberty to tell us an update on the potential sites you're looking at for the centralized firehouse?
If we told you we're looking very closely on Crawford's Corner Road, on this road between here and Bell Works,
Would that be the existing EMS station?
we're looking at 3 or potentially 4 sites. I wouldn't want to say 1 because then there's 4 because some of them are privately owned.
Okay.
So we really want to look at every alternative. You know, I mean, we're centrally located between the town and Bell Works is as essential as we get. So, you know, clearly we weigh the cost of what we're township owned versus is it a better location that's privately owned.
And will that decision be announced next week, the next meeting? Which one you picked or which one you?
I don't think it's completely up to Rocco and I. I think we're going to look at the advantages and disadvantages presented to the 5 of us, and then that would be our recommendation. But we're certainly going to take feedback from the public at that point. So I don't think this runs its course, you know, super quick. But I certainly think over the next few weeks. And Rocco, feel free to add to what I said.
No, we'll push it as soon as we can.
Okay. Can you give an update on the recruiting efforts for volunteers? What number are you up to?
Yeah, so this has been real exciting. I mean, we are at 10. 7 have signed up. We have another 3 in the loop. So since January 1, 10.
And that brings the number to what?
I want to get back to you so that I have the exact. I don't want to say, but it's 10 more than we had January 1. But I'll email you or text you tomorrow.
Shouldn't we know how many firemen we have?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to say the wrong one.
If we say 30 and it's 31, public will jump on.
Thank you.
Bruce?
Yep.
Okay, let's take the mic out. Bruce Henderson, 11 Bryce Road, Holmdel. I'm actually on the exec board for HYA. I'm the vice president. And all the time I've been involved with HYA, we've never had a problem getting the fields. You know, I definitely second, agree with Joe's statement. You know, for softball, for basketball, we even have priority with the schools to use all the gyms. We use German area, we use all the village school fields, we use everything. This is something that we've attended Board of Ed meetings. It's pretty funny because we attend the Board of Ed meetings and they laughed because they said the town committee has to make the first step. They're like, we can't do anything until you guys pass it. But as far as passing it, because the money has to be approved and then they have to go back. So I don't know what the political games are and stuff, but I'm just really disappointed because we came here just expecting this to be, you know, passed. I mean, we had discussed this when I was back in October, September. You know, we had all the people in the crowd cheering and stuff like that. We went over our priority list. We got all the sports on the same page. And it's just very disappointing to see that something seemingly so simple, it was the number one thing. And I can attest, you know, as the vice president of HYA, there's been no HYA improvements done, no money spent on anything for HYA so far. So, you know, we passed a $2.5 million bond back in February, late January, early February, and there's not been a dollar spent. And I started negotiations with Victor, Bob Ward, coming up with game plans on how we're going to do it, what the priority list was, coming up with all the items, and just to hear that, you know, you didn't even know that we were going to do lights at the high school field is just, I don't even know where that came from. So, appreciate your time, and let's just pass it, because I know the Board of Ed meeting was tomorrow, and if we had passed it tonight, they probably would have passed it tomorrow night, and we probably could have started construction on the lights, but now everything is going to get delayed, and the last Board of Ed meeting is in like 3 weeks. If it doesn't get passed then, we're into the fall.
So the meeting is tomorrow night?
The meeting's tomorrow night, right? No, it's the 25th. All right, 29th. Next week.
Okay.
All right, so. we
That
got
helps
this.
me. That helps me. Thank you.
All right, good, so we have a week.
All right.
All right, but that'd be great.
Thanks, Bruce.
Bruce, for the benefit of the public, you're absolutely right. You have been working with Bob Ward and Victor Stevens on a timeline for the improvements to the fields that Ralph pointed out. And we're all sensitive that we don't want to take fields out of use during the spring for softball and baseball. So we're working through that, and that's why the lights were first, because that field is under construction, not being used. Let's put the lights in now so the girls can use it in the fall, and then follow with the next wave of improvements out of that $2.5 million, which HYA has already given us their timeline. So we have all that. The public will have it within a week.
And thank you, again, I'm for the lights, I just want protection. And for the Board of Ed, if you're out there, have more than one meeting a month.
Hold on, Chris. I called Francine. I was getting your sister confused.
I know, I can understand. It's not
This
Nancy.
one.
Francine
Francine.
Chambers, 2 Country Squire Lane. You know, just listening to all of this makes me feel bad, because I was at the October meeting where Bruce came with the list from HYAA, and I was overjoyed. It was like a breath of fresh air to hear that we were gonna finally do stuff for the kids of this town. However, nothing has been spent, according to Bruce. We passed 2.5 million. And my question is, also with the Board of Ed, you're talking about the same children in this town. The Board of Ed doesn't have different children than the township. And yet I believe that both groups want the best for the children. I don't think the township doesn't want it. The thing is, Mr. Nicholas brought up some concerns. If we were working on doing that list diligently, then you should have been able to tell him, by tomorrow, I can give you what you're asking for. If the Board of Ed has never given us any trouble to use any of the facilities, tomorrow they should be able to sign and put in whatever we need for a user agreement. I mean, it seems like red tape is stopping a lot of the desires of this town. And I heard a lot of crap going on from October till today of going on that we could have not spent our money, our time, and got this worked on. I heard consent agendas for $2.5 million that had nothing to do with HYAA. Why? That's my question. It's time that we give
Mike, can you do me a
HYAA
favor and explain the current, you've had a lot of back and forth with the Board of Ed attorney. Can you explain, what, this is really really semantics.
Well, if it is, then there should be no problem.
Yeah, I don't want to get into any specifics because it's a contract negotiation. I got to go back and forth with their attorney. Obviously, the public has seen the terms that were before the committee tonight. Sounds like certain committee members want some tweaks. I'll speak with them after the meeting and find out what they need and go to the Board of Ed, and we're going to work it out.
Yeah, but give it to him. And I don't think.
But the hard part is the people that are working with this, these guys don't coach. I coach. They in the back coach. We would know if there's an issue. There is no issue. We are making an issue. We're making a political statement here tonight. That's what we're doing.
If there's no issue,
a political statement.
if there's no issue, there's no
not
issue.
making a political statement.
Wait, are you
I
using
do
my-
what's right for the kids. Stop with the politics up here. What's right for the kids.
Right.
We might disagree, but I want to see those lights, but I want the kids protected.
All you
My
have to do is vote
opinion.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
Dr.
thank you.
Prescucci is raising good concerns. And
No,
if
I'm
it
not.
really isn't a concern, then fix
Thank
Keep
it.
talking from the audience. You guys are
Who's
rude
next?
and rude.
Chris Bramonti, thanks.
Chris Bramonti, 30 Falcon Ridge Circle, Holmdel. I'm in charge of HYA currently. I've been coaching my daughters since they were 3. We've been working on this for over 3 years. Last time Mr. Bontempo was up for election, we had a major recreation plan in front of us, and we kicked it down the road. You never look at anybody, Greg. Do you realize that? You just look down at your paper. I understand why you had to abstain today, because you don't come to meetings. So how would you know what's going on? I cannot believe that you abstained today. I am so disappointed. So disappointed. Rock, I'm sorry. You are misinformed.